I am absolutely gobsmacked that Concord came out in the way that it did. You know, a $40 live service game with really no unique features of its own, published by a company who has recently seen the cancellation of other PvP games like the Spider-Man multiplayer game and the Last of Us multiplayer game and the Twisted Metal multiplayer game. This is the one that they had to see through to completion. Consider my gobsmacked, my friends. But I think what's even more surprising is the fact that as of February 3rd, roughly 2 weeks after the official launch of the game, it's dead. It's being shut down, which means I officially get to bring back this meme. I mean, I think we were all expecting this game to go free to play at some point in the very near future, or for the DLC roadmap to be drastically toned down in size, but what I wasn't expecting was for the game to literally be deleted from the internet and everyone to be refunded, which is what's happening. PlayStation tweeted out at 10:01 a.m. on September 3rd an important update on Concord from Firewalk Studios, and no, you cannot reply to this post because fuck you, I guess. How dare we try to open the floor for discussion? But then you go into the blog post and it's just, it's painful. We're gonna get to the topic of this video, like the main title of the video. We're going to get to the weird PlayStation fanboys trying to actually spin this into a positive in a minute or two. But first I just want to run through this update because my goodness, the fact that nobody saw this coming and the fact that this game came out in the way that it did is just baffling. Again, my gobs thoroughly smacked. The PlayStation blog post from Ryan Ellis, the director of Firewalk Studios, reads like this, quote, Concord fans, we've been listening closely to your feedback since the launch of Concord on PS5 and PC and want to thank everyone who has joined the journey aboard the North Star. Oh, you've been listening very closely to all 12 people. At the end of the day, that's really not that impressive. Your support and the passionate community that has grown around the game has meant the world to us. Oh, there's lots of support and passion from this community, which is why we're literally deleting the game from the internet. Maybe there's not actually any passion or community, but that's just my opinion. However, while many qualities of the experience resonated with players, we also recognize that other aspects of the game in our initial launch didn't land the way we'd intended. Therefore, at this time, we have decided to take the game offline beginning September 6th, 2024. 3 days from now, by the way. You have 3 more days to play this fucking thing. And explore options, including those that will better reach our players. While we determine the best path ahead, Concord sales will cease immediately, and we will begin to offer a full refund to all gamers who have purchased the game for PS5 or PC. If you purchase the game for PS5 from the PlayStation Store or PlayStation Direct, a refund will be issued back to your original payment method. And then he goes through the different ways to get a refund for this game because they're not going free to play. They're not scaling back the DLC roadmap. They're just pulling the plug and deleting it from the internet, which I wasn't expecting. Quote, once refunded, players will no longer have access to the game. We'll keep you updated, and thank you again to all the free runners who have joined us in the Concord galaxy. Hey, remember when this game was first coming out, there was actually a handful of people trying to argue that the $40 price tag was better than free to play because the $40 price tag meant you owned the game? How funny that sentiment is today. If I had to guess, I think there's some drastic restructuring going on at Firewalk Studios, which is a polite way of saying they're probably gutting the entire staff, because they could have gone free to play and just worked on DLC, but they're not even doing that. They're pulling the game off of the internet, which makes me think Sony completely pulled the money plug on this. No more dollars going to maintaining this game at all, which I think is bananas, because if you went free to play and then support, and then had an item shop, or if you didn't even have dedicated servers, if it was just a peer-to-peer free-to-play game, I imagine you'd be making some money back, but apparently from Sony's perspective, that's not even enough to justify it existing on their storefront, which is wild. Look, I have a whole video, it's right here, if you want to hear my exact thoughts on why this game flopped, and you want to hear me make fun of some people who were boasting about how awesome the game was, and running damage control for it when it was first confirmed how much of a flop it was. But in this video, now that our context has been established, we're going to make fun of some PlayStation fanboys who are trying to twist this into a positive thing, because yes, there are several of them trying to do that, and I don't understand what purpose that serves, nor do I understand what you get out of this. But let's just see what I mean. Let's just see how people are possibly trying to spin one of the biggest AAA failures in gaming history as a positive thing for the PlayStation brand, because that's how obsessed with logos these people are. Also, between me recording the intro of this video and me recording the screenshot portion, I got very sick, so you're just gonna have to deal with my voice changing halfway through the video. If you want to support me being sick, you can use the donation link in the description, and I'll use your money to buy soup cans that I'll crush against my head and absorb their nutrients. Well, you think I'm joking about that? You think I'm joking? It's because I am. The AP says, friendly reminder that Cyberpunk 2077 was also pulled from stores with refunds offered. If you're trying to equate Cyberpunk to Concord, you just need to go take a walk. Cyberpunk was a gigantic single-player RPG with a whole bunch of bugs. And there were a bunch of bugs in the game, so they refunded the game while it was buggy, because it was technically not the product you paid for because of all the bugs. Concord is a game that, to my understanding, was more or less bug-free, and was exactly the game that it set out to be. That was the problem. The game it set out to be was something nobody wanted. If we're trying to make the argument that Concord is going to have a Cyberpunk-style comeback, all because they're deleting it from the internet and giving refunds, like that's all you have to go off. We're not talking about the context. We're not talking about the reasons for the pulling and the refunds. Again, Cyberpunk was a single player RPG with a bunch of bugs. They pulled the game from sale and offered refunds to fix the bugs. Concord is a fully complete game that was pulled from sale because the cost of maintaining the servers was more than the amount of money they were making off of the 5 people that bought it. These two situations are so not the same. Did you hear my voice crack? Did you hear it? I'm gonna go crush another soup can against my head. Christopher Drink says, Dear Fanboys, when a game on the console you don't own doesn't do very well, whether it's Concord or Hellblade or NES World Championships, I've never heard of that in my life, it's not a win for you. Nobody won. Actually, consumers won. Yes, Concord being removed from sale with refunds offered and Sony admitting defeat with live service nonsense like this, that is a win. It is a win for everyone. It's a win for PlayStation gamers because Sony is very loudly getting the message that this is not what you want, and it's a win for non-PlayStation gamers because it sets an example for other AAA studios that, again, this is not what people want. Concord being removed from sale is a W for the free market and a W for the gaming industry as a whole, because it means overfunded projects that no one asked for are not going to be greenlit so easily. Like, what is this nobody won? Literally every consumer in the gaming space won. All of them. The Red Dragon says, Xbox puts out a bomb like Redfall and keeps selling it. Sony puts out a bomb and recognizes it isn't the standard players have come to expect and offers refunds immediately. Good guys, PlayStation. Sony pulls Concord from sale and will refund customers. This is fun. This is fun. So it's a bad thing that Xbox put out a bomb and continued to sell it. Never mind the fact that Redfall continued to get patches and updates and also sold way more copies than Concord, but that's besides the point. Redfall continues to be sold because Redfall continues to be updated. Concord did not sell and will not be sold anymore because it never sold in the first place. Also, Sony recognizes this isn't the standard players have come to expect. It really? 8 years of development and they only just now noticed that? Bro, that's not a flex. It took you 8 years of development and what, $200 and some million to recognize this was a thing that nobody wanted? And you're framing this as a W? What you're saying here is that Sony is run by a bunch of fucking airheads, and you're trying to frame this as a W. What is wrong with you? Oh, good guys, PlayStation. They lost $200 million on the project because they refused to cancel something that everyone would have told them nobody would have bought. Good guys, PlayStation. They get us. What the fuck? Only Good Game says very disappointed about the decision of bringing Concord offline. For once, a studio nailed all the below from the get-go. Polished and fair gameplay, crisp UI, beautiful color palette, addictive progression, no bugs at launch, no predatory microtransactions, balanced characters, all interesting in their own way, and yet the community pushed back. The reasons? Pronouns? One dev comment? Would be nice to focus on what multiplayer games are all about. Fun. I like how you conveniently don't bring up the $40 price tag. Also, polished and fair gameplay. Yeah, it's real easy to make polished and fair gameplay when you have no original ideas of your own. When you're literally just copying off everyone else's homework. Yeah, I'd imagine it's real easy to make balanced gameplay when you take 0 risks. That's the problem. Also, I love the one dev comment here, as if there was only one rude comment from the developers. Just one. Just one. No, there was more than one, my friend. But anything you can do to frame this as anything other than what it was, which is Sony trying to sell you a $40 overhaul mod for Destiny. Unleashed wouldn't be a Joe from Seattle PlayStation video without him. Says, thank you, Concord, for going out with grace, unlike Starfield. Here's Concord's Steam charts. Here's Starfield's Steam charts. I really don't feel like I need to elaborate. Old Man Logan says, I have 48 hours in this game. Really? The game was out long enough for you to get that many hours? The people that are playing it love it. I've met and have played with so many cool people simply because of this game. We have a free runner chat on PlayStation. Dude, that's awesome. You got the entire community on one chat? That's cool. Fuck all the people who gave this game such unwarranted hate for no good reason. No good reason for hate. The bland design, the lifeless characters, the $40 price tag. No reason to hate on it. No good reason. There was no good reason to hate on this game, which is why conveniently like 90% of the internet hated on it. No good reason to hate on it. That's why almost everyone hated on it. I'm sure that happened naturally. That's great. That's fun. I'm loving this. Dom the Bomb, I saw a lot of people saying stuff like this. This is the biggest cope of all, I think. Says single player has and always will be PlayStation's identity. Right. That's what happened here. PlayStation is all about single player. That's the spin we're going with. Never mind that PlayStation, for the longest time, and I'm pretty sure still now, is the biggest buyer of Call of Duty, and Jim Ryan himself tried to argue that if PlayStation didn't have the best version of Call of Duty, then the entire platform would collapse. Nah, man. It's all about single player games. GTA Online is always near the top of PlayStation sales. So is Madden and FIFA, but nah, dude, it's all about single player games on PlayStation. It's all about single player games. Literally all of the PlayStation guys were hyping up the Last of Us multiplayer game the entire time it was in development. But no, dude, single player games are PlayStation's thing. Sony threw 8 years of development and several $100 million at Concord because single player games are our thing. Dawn, look at me. This is not a good spin. God, my throat is on fire and my nose is inverting on itself. So I will leave you with some closing thoughts. Thought number 1. Concord not going free to play and instead being deleted from the internet is hilarious and a bit unexpected, but I truly hope the developers have a good plan for the future. I don't want to see this game just get deleted. I would love to see it be reworked and released as a free-to-play game at some point down the line, or maybe use these assets to make some kind of single-player experience if that's really the direction you want to go. But the fact that deleting the game from the earth was seen as the best course of action, that is hysterical. Point number 2, I never want to hear any of you PlayStation guys talk about physical game ownership ever again. Do you guys remember how many times the PlayStation dudes were talking about how like, oh, it's $40 for Concord is good because then you own the game. They just took the game away from you even though you paid for it. Shut the fuck up, you don't understand how DRM works. Just because you have a disc doesn't mean you own what's on the disc in the modern industry. And that is a huge, huge problem. They lied to your face when they said you owned this game if you paid $40 for it. They lied to your face. Hold them accountable. Remember when the animation director on the game said, quote, you own Concord, Concord doesn't own you? They lied to your face. You did not own this game. Hold them accountable. And closing point number 3. To quote Liam Barrick 1999 on Twitter, notice how the PS5 unreleases games instead of having games. Okay, toodles.